Ah, to me, this is the most beautiful proof in the world. If you keep on following this, after so many things you can do, it's a multiplication table, a division table, a table that gives you the degrees of any division, sevens of any prime number. Now you could take your compass, fractal it down, but it's a perfect fractal. It's these angles here, each golden rectangle fractals down into a perfect 30, 60, 90 triangle split on division. Now to go further in depth, like you can count by primes. Now the middle axis line, the 0 point coming down here, is split by the perpendicular. So this is a mirror of this one. So these are, when you take this out on a 60 degrees, so on a circle, 360 basis, you have times 6. And if this is just a mirrored image of that, you have times 12 equal mirrored images. And in essence, you got to think of this by this side is being fractaling down. These are the negative numbers, so it's a polarities. This is a positive polarity ever expanding by the one, and technically you could say expanding, constantly duplicating itself. And this is vice versa, transversely on the exact half axis basis is coming down, but they're mirror images. So fractally you see the same thing as this one's going up and going down. This is happening, but this would be positive, negative, and going around, and this would be surrounded by two negatives, two positives, and a negative. And this explains like Riemann's numbers, why if you got three negatives or all the way around, then you still have negative 12, because that if it was two negatives, it would be a positive third, makes it a negative again. But as you count down primes, these are all the numbers, and you can see how, like for the 20 degrees of 3, or this 3 Vesica Pisces going up, and the 3 equal distance, for instance, but technically you fractal that down there, so you can see how these all constantly stay the same as you're going down. And all prime numbers being, every number can be expressed by the division of the prime numbers. You can see eventually everything goes up, because like for 3 instance, splits will, as you follow the degrees, will intersect 6, intersect 9. So all these divisions, anytime you have a prime number, you can just expand on 50% of the half of that basis right on the axis of giving you this way constantly on 0.5, where the same thing as you fractal down on the split basis this way, it's also giving you a 0.5 fractaling down. So in itself, it's squaring itself, or squaring itself this way, however you choose to look at it, but it's all equally the same relative to the beginning circumference of a circle. Because remember, now to get all you really need is 6 circles, because the 6 circles will give you the division, which will be expressed as 3. So I thought originally all you needed was 3, but technically you need the 6 circles together will express 3, harmony of 3 perfect divisions in there of the first Vesica Pisces, 2 and 1, 2, 3, before I fractaled it down. But it takes 6 because it's, and where you get the 12, 6 circles made of 12 gives you radians, so 2 across to get the circumference. Once again, relative to the 12, to the circles, to the matrix. But the lines are just basically like of a male version duplicating, because now you can just draw a circle on the pivot points of each one, because you can theoretically, you're fractaling the circles, if you can see the Vesica Pisces within the lines as it comes up. If you look closely, that comes in there. Well, but going back to counting prime numbers, so all even numbers fall on the split division here. So the prime numbers first are created, or odd numbers, they are the ones that are equally split on this division. And you can see, like, well, going back to 5, the next division of that's 10, 15. So you can just follow these up. You get all the intersections or multiples of any of these numbers, whichever you choose to look at, and just go up that way. That's how it's a multiplication, and just work it backwards on this as a division table, because you can see if it was 15, how many times a 5? 1, 2, and then we're at 2 with 10, 3 at 5, divisions back. So that's how you get divisions. Now the fractal from degrees, basically you have to get this circle here, and if you didn't want to draw a circle that big, bring it down to the 1, have the divisions in there, you have 7 of these, but if you put that points like on the, let's say the 5, you get here 5 different divisions of the 6 degrees would give you 30. If you just wanted a pentagon in that manner, you would actually just choose every 5 points after you plotted it out, for instance. So this is pure Euclidean geometry, but now it's quantized, completely quantized. So it's a complete marriage of Euclidean geometry and quantum mathematics, because you can quantizing what your relative length. So it's all relative to the perception of where you're at. And you can also take that in another way. That's why in essence this also it goes on to explain, you can give it the mass gap theory, and with how it goes through in the perception of going through the Higgs as a lag of weak force energy, giving as consciousness, not defining God, but only defining how we consciously perceive the frequencies of God, because we're the ones that are triangulating based on 2 eyes, 2 ears, or smell and taste, and triangulating how we interpret those energies. Because if we come down and believe E equals MC squared, all those are relative to the vibration. So you are really just interpreting the vibration and giving a projective reality of that. So you're as far as in terms of the photographic universe or holographic universe, in essence, yes, you can see we're all quantumly entangled to the center of the universe, and which makes us beings, so we're experiencing the realm of that, but we're also creating our own quantized reality, and they're giving a relative dispersion as we travel through the space and time through that theoretical Higgs theory, or funnily enough, it's very closely related to going back to Tesla, ether theory, just to use the old terms to it. And as we objectively travel through that matrix of the reality, the grand unified theory is that subjectively God is the infinite universes and everything else, but our subjective value as we perceive it is all collectively perceived on the timeline as the only reality, and that's the linear line of relativity, again, the grand unified theory of Einstein. But in essence, you could still say it is even every dot is just relative on this proportion, whereas the beginning, it's a chicken or egg concept in itself. It's constant. You can never put the 1 and define it as 0, because it can never be, but you can constantly divide it in half in theory forever and ever and ever. I mean, if I was to explain it in Zeno's paradox and I was the turtle, Zeno had to blindfold himself and open his eyes every meter, and when he did, he had to stop, and as the turtle, I just put a mirror in front of him, he'd see me, and then run again, and I'd do the same thing when he blindfolded himself, and he'd continuously wonder why he traveled half the distance and I'm going twice as far in the others, because he's looking at me in the mirror to explain this on numbers and the irrational numbers. In essence, all numbers are irrationality until defined in the terms of what level we want to look at. But yes, I can continue to go down this to any level and take it to the rationality that we want to presume at that level. But you'll find this shows all prime numbers is a theorem for that, shows the Riemann hypothesis, everything always has to diverge on the 50, shows algebraically how you come up with the -1 or 12 from adding numbers to infinity. In essence, like it's brought up in previous videos, if you haven't watched the other ones, that it's basically like the Sumerian system, 12-point based on vibration and harmonies brought down into a manifestation, so a 10-point or 5-point bifractal like that, so becoming a 10 based math system, but it's really a squared like a square root of 1 in essence, fractaling out, giving you a golden ratio. This is how this all has relative, is basically the golden ratio, Pythagorean triplets, showing the prime theorem. That's why I say it's a beautiful equation, because it does so many things all in one. Enjoy.